Hello and welcome to another vlog. Today happens to be Shakespeare's birthday, 23rd of April. It's also St. George's Day, so it's an important day if you're English, like what we are. I'm actually opposite Hope Street, which is just down there. And this is going to be a town walk. It's going to be a Tudor town walk. Everything you see, virtually everything you see today, was not here in Tudor times. These were all open fields. It was a very rural thing. Now you may have remember in previous videos I've talked about Prescot Township and Prescot Parish, the parish of Prescot. The parish, when people say Prescot was bigger than Liverpool, well it was, because we're talking about the parish of Prescot. The actual township of Prescot is something totally different, and that is the boundaries that that you could call Prescot, the medieval town of Prescot. The township, the parish, consisted of places like Whiston and Rainford and right down to Widnes. This walk is the town boundary walk that I'm going on. I might have to split it into two parts because it's quite a long walk. Plus we're going to the theatre today to celebrate Shakespeare's birthday, so we might have to cut it in half and get back to it. We'll see what happens anyway. So we're going to go around the town of Prescot, the medieval town of Prescot, and it is a township that William Shakespeare would have known if he had come here, which they do say he did, between 1585 and 1591. They were known as Shakespeare's lost years, where he played the provinces, and there is evidence that in 1589 he actually came to Knowsley Hall here and he performed with the Essex troupe, the Lord Essex troupe. So we're going to look at that. There's also evidence that he actually wrote Midsummer's Night's Dream for the daughter of the 4th Earl of Derby. He would have been 25 years of age, around 25 years of age, so he was a young man. This was a young playwright discovering what it was like to write. He'd only just written Henry IV Part 1 when he came to Prescot. If he did come to Prescot, it's all conjecture, because the thing about Shakespeare is he's a mysterious figure. The evidence is thin on the ground, but we're discovering new stuff about him all of the time. So we're going to go around the medieval township of Prescot. So we're going to go down here and I'm going to point out some of the features that are featured on this map. That map there is from 1592. It's as accurate as it can be, and I've actually walked this route, and I know that some parts of it are you can't walk because people are built on them, but we'll try and keep as near to the medieval township boundary as possible, and I'll try and explain the various features that we see on this map. So yeah, let's take a ramble. Come with me. Okay, I'm just going to show you where we're starting from on this map. Here's the map of the medieval map from 1592 of Prescot, and this is where we're starting on the map. It should take us all the way around the town. What I want to point out to you is that everything on the right, I'm going in an anti-clockwise direction, so everything on the right is outside of the township, and everything on the left virtually is inside the township, right? So we're starting here and we're going to go down here onto Poorhouse Went. This side here was called a town moss, and this was in Eccleston. This wasn't in Prescot. This wasn't the Prescot Township. It was part of the parish of Prescot, but it wasn't in the township of Prescot. So we're going to go down here and see what we can see. Okay, let's go. We've got Town Moss on the right here and the township here. This would have all been fields. These were all fields. There would have been no buildings here at all. So it stretches your imagination a bit as to what was here and what wasn't here. You would have seen some walls, possibly town walls like this here. And sheep and cows and farmers' fields and stuff like that. It was divided up into what was known as burgs, which were parcels of land for 10 farmers. So everything we see now, it does take a bit of imagination to imagine what this was like in Tudor times, but this pathway here actually follows the medieval boundary line, and it's surprising how many paths around Prescot do follow this boundary line. Why was it called the moss, this? Possibly because it was boggy and very mossy, not good for growing crops and stuff like that. That's possibly a reason why. So keep in mind that that's Eccleston and this is Prescot. It makes you realise how these streets developed around Prescot and why they're still here now. These would have been walked on, these would have just been country lanes basically, but they would have been walked on for hundreds and hundreds of years. This lane here is at least 400 years old. The old Eaton Street playing ground, which many of you will remember, but Shakespeare certainly wouldn't have remembered it. Okay, this is still part of Poorhouse Went. And we're still on the medieval boundary line here. Wherever we divert from the medieval boundary line, I'm going to speed it up and time lapse it so you know that we're not actually on the line. Now when we come to the end of this road here, the boundary line, the township boundary, again, we're just coming out of Eccleston now and we're going into Knowsley just down there. That's Knowsley down there, which is part of the Knowsley estate, Lord Derby's estate. The boundary, the township boundary, would have gone straight across here now, straight through where these buildings are now. Obviously we can't go through them buildings, so we're going to have to go round now. So as we go round, I'm going to change it to time-lapse mode, and you can just follow us round. Okay, I'm going to do that now. Okay, we're back on the boundary walk now. We've just come down Edgerton Road here, and this is Green Road now, which goes up that way. Prescot Church is just over there. Yeah, in 1592, this was, this shows you roughly where we are there. We're about there. Sletherforth Field, and we're walking onto the acres, which is down there. Okay, so that gives you an idea of where we are. So we're going to go down this way. So this is still Sletherforth Field, Sletherforth Field, and the acres is just about here now. It's probably, we've gone into the acres actually. So we're just coming up to Knowsley Park Lane here. Knowsley Park Lane is quite an important lane, as you may know. If you grew up in Prescot, you will know that this is where we came down this lane here from Derby Road there up to the Lord Derby's estate, and this was in fact the main entrance to Lord Derby's estate. If William Shakespeare had appeared at the Elizabethan Playhouse, the only one purpose-built outside of London, and his players had played there, they would have come down this lane and entered the gates here at Lord Derby's estate to appear in front of Lord Derby at various functions. They were well known to support the Queen's players and the Strangers' Men and various things like that that William Shakespeare was associated with. So it's worth speculating that Shakespeare did actually walk down here. William Shakespeare walking down Knowsley Park Lane. So this is still part of the boundary line. We would have gone, we're here on the map, we would have gone straight through here, but we can't because there's a building there, which is inconvenient, don't you think? Don't you think that's inconvenient? So what we're going to have to do now, we're going to have to go onto Derby Road, which in Elizabethan times was known as Fall Lane. All of this going down here to Liverpool, the main road to Liverpool there, is called Fall Lane, and that's how it was called. So we're going to get as near to the boundary line as possible, but we're going to go off here. So I'm going to speed up the camera, time-lapse it again, so just so you know that we're not actually on the boundary line. Okay, let's go. No, I meant Derby Street, not Derby Road. I'm at the bottom of Derby Street now. This is Liverpool Road. The town boundary would have been down here, right behind these buildings where we've just come down from now. So we're actually here, and the town boundary is there. It goes all the way down there. So conveniently, Liverpool Road actually follows the town boundary line, which basically is behind the old Whitaker's nursery. That isn't there anymore, obviously, but we'll go down here now. I'll do it in time-lapse mode just to quicken things up. So we're at the old Whitaker's Garden Centre now. The town walk would have been over here, behind these new houses that are being built here. This area in 1592 wouldn't be known as Sir John's Croft, and that would have been kind of like a farmer's field. Who Sir John was, I don't know. But anyway, it would have been coming down here to Sir John's Croft. Interesting thing about these new builds is that nothing has been built on this site, as far as I know, and as far as local historians are concerned. No houses have been built on this site for over 500 years. So it's a sign of the times, isn't it? All this green space being eroded. There was a good reason why no houses were built on here. It's because in medieval times the Prescot Brook used to flood. This would have been a floodplain, but not anymore. So anyway, we're going to go carry on down here. Okay, we're at the western edge of the Prescot Township. I'm just going to turn the camera around, and if you look at that house there, that farmhouse, that's approximately where the pathway to the township boundary was, and it would come down here. Below here you can see Prescot Brook. Can you see that? Prescot Brook there. So we are on this map, we're about there at that point. Beyond there was Knowsley Estate, which was under the township of Knowsley, and on this edge here, we look over there, that was Highton. Now Highton is the only thing that juts onto Prescot that wasn't part of the parish of Prescot. That had its own parish, obviously not as big as Prescot. But so if we go across this road now, because the Prescot Brook goes under the bridge here. This is Brook Bridge. So you can see on this map we're going over the road and we're going to follow Prescot Brook. So let's do that. Okay, there's Brook Bridge for the old boundary line, and the boundary line you will see follows Prescot Brook, which goes down there, the old Prescot Brook. And amazingly, it's still flowing. It goes underground there, so we're going to follow that and see where it leads to. So the old Prescot Brook, and it looks quite clean actually. I'm not going to go down, but what this indicates is that at some time the brook, which is there, must have been much wider, because you can see there's a slope here, and that's where the water has worn away the land over many years. It could be thousands of years that brook has been flowing, and it would have been wider and possibly even navigable. So in medieval times you could sail a boat down it, possibly even in Viking times you could sail down it, much like you could down the river Holt. So it's been flowing here for possibly 1,000 years, if not more, Prescot Brook. So we're going to follow this down here. Environment Agency waste management, water management there. Interestingly, look at this wild garlic growing along Prescot Brook. See that? That smells of garlic. You can actually fry the leaves. Fascinating. I've never seen that before in Prescot. So it goes down here, the stream, but it goes underground now. You notice it's not there anymore. That's because it's gone through that culvert underground. But the path of it you can still see here. I think this is the very first time that anyone has done a vlog on the boundary, the Prescot boundary, medieval boundary. If it isn't, let me know. I've certainly never seen one. It's taken a bit of research, and I've tried to make it as interesting as possible. Let's see where we're up to. So this area here would have been farmers' fields, 2 fields known as wood hay. So this would have been wood hay, going alongside the brook, this way, and on the other side of Prescot Brook would have been the township of Highton, which was never part of Prescot Parish. Now, the line of the brook seems to end here, but actually I know for a fact it goes over there because it's on the map. Prescot Brook actually flows underground. At some time it was filled in, this area was filled in for some reason, and it flows underneath here through, I presume it's pipes. I know for a fact it was here in the 1930s, so it might have something to do with housing development, or the BI or something, I don't know, or the sewage works, because if you may remember years ago, Brownsfield here, known as Brownsfield, there was a sewage farm at the other end there, close to Prescot Brook. So as we get to this point here, we're entering the wood. There's Prescot Church up there, and we're entering what's known as the wood. All of this area here, where the brook comes from. Still over that side, the other side of the brook would have been Highton. So Highton would have come pretty much closer to Prescot than it is now. So we're going to go through Brownsfield, King George V's Memorial playing fields, and we're going to head over there. So whilst I do that, I'm going to go into super fast, hyper style. Let's do that. Okay, you see these manholes here, one there and one there. I think they're directly related to what is now underground, which is the Prescot Brook. There's another one down here as well. So as they've buried it, I think that's what they've done. We're going to carry on down there, where we should find where the brook comes out again. I think it would be a great thing for Prescot if they actually uncovered the brook and made it into a nature ramble walk. There's some nice parts of the brook where you can see what's been done with it, but if they did the entire thing, wouldn't that be a great asset to walk along Prescot Brook? It wouldn't be the same as walking along the River Avon, but it's part of the history of Prescot. Now this brook in medieval times was populated enough, and it was deep enough to have populations of eels flowing in it, and people used to catch the eels to eat. And we know that because Sewell Street used to be known as Stig Lane, and Stig is a slang term for an eel. and there used to be a pool of eels at the bottom of Sewell Street, where you could catch eels basically. But Prescot Brook was also famous for eels hundreds of years ago. So we're going to go out and see where it comes out there. Let's have a look. Now, the field we're walking across now is obviously known today as Brown's Field. It's been known as that for many years. But in 1592, this was known as the Wood. All of this area here, right up to Prescot Church, is just behind that building there. So all of this area was known as the Wood. And it's a place where there were three types of woods in Elizabethan times. There were the King's Woods, or the Queen's Woods, there were Manor Woods, and there was wood, which was the common wood, if you like. This was known as a common wood. The King's Wood would be part of, it would be owned by the King. So you couldn't actually, actually take wood off the field, off the area, because it was owned by the King, and it would be called poaching. And it's the same for the manor. It belonged to the lord of the manor. Common woods were for the townsfolk, so the townsfolk could come here with permission of the court leet and gather wood for fire or buildings or whatever. So this was like a coppice. It was coppiced wood, so it would come up every year. It was a managed township woodland for all. We didn't have B&Q back then. 1592, we had to gather our own wood and we had to make our own fires. So that's where this would have been. Unfortunately, the trees are gone now. But there is this little oasis over here which follows the stream, and we're going to have a look now. We're going to go down into Prescot Brook. So it's a lovely bit of woodland, and this is how it must have looked in 1592. All of Prescot Wood would have looked like this. It would have been places where you could just gather wood, or you could even gather what's known as reeds to make reed lights, which you mix with beeswax, and it was a kind of primitive candle, and that's what the Elizabethans used to use to light, to create light in the evening, and these reeds would have grown alongside the river Prescot Brook. So the river's here, you can see, and I'll just take the camera and show you. And thanks for Catherine, who's doing the extra camera work on this. There it comes out of this culvert here, and it gently flows down here as a nice serene pace. Originally, you can see the ground level here comes up here, and it goes all the way round. There is like a V shape going down. Now that indicates that this river was wider than it is today. It must have been up here somewhere, probably about 1,000 years ago. It would have been more like a river and not a stream as it is now. So yeah, let's walk along. We're still on the boundary line here, by the way. This is still the boundary line. On this side it's Prescot, on that side it's Huyton. So just remember that. The other side of the brook, and you're in Huyton, which is a foreign land to Prescotians. Yeah, so let's go along here. Let's have a look. The beautiful woodland. peaceful here. Now you see what I mean, if this was turned into a feature, if this whole area was turned into a proper space for families to come, you know. There used to be a sewage farm here. If you know, when you were young, you used to play here. I know I did. Whoops! Nearly fell over as well. I take you to all the beautiful places of Prescot, don't I? But sometimes, you know, when you walk down here, you don't think you're in Prescot. This looks like somewhere else entirely. But it is Prescot. Just remember that the heighteners are just over that stream. Prescot Brook. Have a look down there. Isn't that idyllic? Could be in Wales. Yeah, apart from the wheelie bin. Again, Prescot Brook disappears beneath the road here, which is Cars Lane, basically, and goes into a culvert down here. And we're going to cross the road now and see where it ends up. So we're on the other side of the brook now. We've actually crossed over. You see, we were on that side coming down. Well, that's the Prescot side. This side, we're actually in Huyton, the township of Huyton now. So we're going to have to continue the walk in Huyton, unfortunately. But fortunately for us, it's Prescot now. In 1592, it would have been Huyton. But it's Prescot now. So there you go. Let's have a look. Okay, this is just to show you where we are. We're approximately about there on the walk. Okay. Now at some points here, and I'm unsure where it is, but I've got a feeling it's here, where there's a bend in the brook. You see that bend in the brook there? Prescot Brook diverts off in two directions. So one of the directions is here, which I feel that this is part of it here. So it diverts off that way, but it also goes this way. And this way, it stops becoming Prescot Brook. And it's now known as Rindle's Brook. It's no longer Prescot Brook at this point, approximately this point anyway. So like I said, this area, it forks off in two directions. The brook goes one way, that way. Prescot Brook would have been over here where the lake is now, Car Lane Lake, and Rindle Brook would have gone in this direction here. And we're going to follow Rindle Brook. As you can see on the map, Rindle Brook is going down here, so towards the delves, right? So we've come around the wood. That's still the wood over there. This is in Huyton now, Huyton Township. So Rindle Brook, not Rindle Brook, Rindle Brook. So we'll go down Rindle Brook and follow the township walk. remember I told you about the V shape, that like centuries of water cut into a landscape makes in the landscape. It washes away a lot of the land, and here is perfect to see the V shape that Rindle Brook, well, Prescot Brook if you like, as you can see the level of the ground here. It must have at one time been a very wide river, wide enough to navigate. It's actually cut right the way down, this cutting, so this has been flowing along here for thousands of years basically. Anyway, yeah, so we're going to carry on. So at this point we leave Rindle Brook, and we're actually on Rye Hay now. This is known in Tudor times as Rye Hay, which would have been a farmer's field down here. Heighton we've left behind. We're now on this side where we're standing now in the township of Whiston, which is part of the Prescot Parish. So we're on safe ground now, away from Heighton, and we're actually in Whiston. So we'll carry on down here. Rye Hay, the big farmer's field. Now it's all new builds, and these buildings are actually named after Shakespeare Drive and all that, all Shakespeare themed. If you look over there, you can see the parish church. So we're coming up to the Prescot Hall estate now. This is part of the Prescot Hall estate. We've just come to Rye Hay, sorry. We're coming up to Prescot Hall estate, which you can see there. So Prescot Hall goes down here, over there, and then crosses over there. I'm going to put it on time lapse now for the rest of the journey. And I'm going to meet you back in the second episode of this walk at Knowsley Hall. Well, the site of what Knowsley Hall was. If you're wondering what this road is to the left of me here, that's the Knowsley Expressway, which is a kind of motorway that goes to Hale Wood, that end, and Kirby on that end. So if you've enjoyed this vlog, then please give us the thumbs up. Or you can actually give us the thumbs down, it doesn't matter. It's for the algorithm, it's actually the participation that helps the algorithm. So whether you like it or you don't, then you know it recognizes that and it helps the channel. Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you again in the next episode of this boundary walk. So thanks for watching, and I'll leave you with views of us travelling up to Thomas Drive and Prescot Hall. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.